What happens when one of Hollywood's most celebrated actresses walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a standard promotional chat and instead finds herself at the center of the most uncomfortable confrontation daytime television has seen in years? Today, we're breaking down the moment Meryl Streep stunned audiences by calmly, but devastatingly, shutting down Joy Behar live on The View. What began as a routine interview spiraled into an on-air clash so tense that the entire studio fell silent. This is the kind of unscripted television networks dread, yet secretly know will live forever online. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment because the way this unfolds is almost impossible to believe. The morning began like any other at The View. Producers had booked Meryl Streep to promote her latest film, expecting a polished, respectful discussion. The Oscar-winning actress, long admired for her grace and professionalism, took her seat as the theme music faded and the cameras rolled. Joy Behar, seated in her usual place, wore the familiar half-smile longtime viewers recognize immediately, the look that signals she's about to provoke. "So, Meryl," Joy began, leaning forward with exaggerated curiosity, "tell us about this new movie of yours. I have to admit, when I read the synopsis, I couldn't help wondering if Hollywood has finally run out of original ideas." The panel exchanged quick glances. Even by Joy standards, the opening felt sharper than usual. Meryl didn't flinch. She smiled politely and answered with calm precision. "Well, Joy, storytelling has always involved revisiting themes that speak to the human experience," she said. "This film explores family relationships during times of crisis, something that feels especially relevant right now." "Oh, please, let's be honest. You've spent decades playing the same tortured woman. The tears, the dramatic monologues, the suffering genius routine. Don't you think audiences are tired of watching you cry for 2 hours?" The studio went noticeably quiet. Crew members froze. Whoopi Goldberg shifted uncomfortably. Sarah Haynes suddenly became very interested in her notes. Meryl's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes did. "That's an interesting take," she replied evenly. "I'm curious, what would you define as authentic storytelling? Because from where I stand, vulnerability and emotional truth are exactly what art is meant to explore." Joy scoffed. "Authentic. Authentic would be admitting you've been coasting on your reputation for years. You get nominated because you're Meryl Streep, not because the performances are still that impressive. It's like the emperor's new clothes and everyone's too scared to say it." The tension became palpable. This wasn't playful banter anymore. It was personal. Meryl gently set her water glass down and looked directly at Joy. "So you believe recognition comes from conspiracy rather than discipline and craft?" she asked. "Tell me, what's your background in performance that gives you authority to make that judgment?" Joy's face flushed. "I don't need to be a chef to know when food tastes bad," she snapped. "I've been in this business long enough to recognize manufactured excellence." "This business?" Meryl repeated softly. "You mean television hosting?" The words landed hard. Because acting, real acting, requires vulnerability and skill that go far beyond delivering opinions from behind a desk. Whoopi quickly tried to step in. "Ladies, maybe we should focus on the film." But Joy wasn't backing down. "Oh, here we go with the superiority complex. You think awards make you untouchable? I've been calling out Hollywood phony since before you started doing those ridiculous accents in every other movie." For the first time, Meryl's composure cracked, just slightly. "Phonies," she said. "That's rich coming from someone whose career is built on manufactured outrage and uninformed commentary." The studio audience fell completely silent. "You want authenticity? Let's talk about sitting at a desk every day attacking work you don't understand while others are actually creating something meaningful." Joy opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no immediate comeback. Sarah tried to smooth things over, but Meryl wasn't finished. "I think Joy has made her position very clear. She believes expertise and decades of craft mean less than loud opinions delivered from a position of comfort." Joy shot back, her voice sharp and defensive. "Don't lecture me about understanding. I've watched movies my whole life, and what I see is someone who thinks she's above criticism." "Above criticism," Meryl laughed softly, without warmth. "I've been criticized by people who understand technique, text and emotional truth. What you're offering are personal attacks disguised as commentary. Joy doubled down. You think you're Katharine Hepburn? Honey, you're not even close. The room felt frozen. Whoopi pressed her hand to her forehead. Producer scrambled in the control room. Then Meryl leaned forward. Joy, she said quietly, I'm going to tell you something no one else has. Her voice was steady but unyielding. You've confused volume with authority, controversy with relevance. You've built a career on provocation because insight requires effort. Joy tried to interrupt. I'm not finished, Meryl said firmly. Katharine Hepburn challenged power. She didn't punch down. She didn't rely on cheap shots. The difference between us isn't talent, it's character. Joy went pale. You think you can humiliate me on my own show? Your show? Meryl raised her eyebrow. This show belongs to the viewers, people who expect discussion, not verbal ambushes. Then she asked a question that ended everything. When was the last time you created something? When did you last put yourself at risk instead of judging others from safety? Joy stammered. I create conversation. No, Meryl corrected. You create conflict, and there's a difference. Joy lashed out again, this time personally. Cruel is watching someone your age still pretending every role is a masterpiece. Meryl smiled gently. Thank you, she said. You've just proven my point. She turned to the camera. This is what happens when someone is confronted with their limitations. They reach for age, for cruelty, for deflection. Joy looked flustered, shaken. Longer doesn't mean better. It just means longer. Finally, Meryl stood. I think we're done here. You can't just leave, Joy croaked. I can, Meryl replied calmly, because this stopped being an interview the moment you made it personal. She turned back one last time. The tragedy isn't that you ask hard questions, Joy. The tragedy is that you think what you did today qualifies as asking questions at all. She walked off the set. The studio sat in stunned silence. Whoopi finally looked into the camera. We'll be right back. And with that, the cameras cut, leaving behind one of the most uncomfortable, unforgettable moments in daytime television history. When the show returned from commercial, the atmosphere was completely different. The bright, conversational energy The View is known for had evaporated, replaced by a stiff, uneasy silence that no amount of forced smiles could hide. Whoopi stared straight into the camera, her expression unusually serious. Well, that was a lot, she said carefully. Joy sat rigid in her chair, hands clasped tightly together, eyes fixed on the table. The confidence she normally projected was gone. For the first time, she looked unsure of what to say, or whether saying anything at all would only make things worse. Sarah attempted to steer the conversation back on track. We want to remind everyone that discussions can get passionate, but the damage had already been done. Viewers could feel it. This wasn't a passionate debate, it was a public unraveling. Behind the scenes, producers were scrambling. Phones were lighting up in the control room. Network executives were already watching clips roll in real time as social media exploded. Within minutes, hashtags began trending. Hashtag Team Meryl, hashtag The View Meltdown, hashtag Joy Behar Exposed. Clips of the confrontation spread like wildfire. Edited, slowed down, replayed from every angle. Commentators dissected every line, every pause, every moment Joy hesitated while Meryl remained composed. Media critics didn't hold back. What we witnessed wasn't a clash of opinions, one analyst said later that day. It was a lesson in professionalism versus provocation. Entertainment journalists quickly confirmed what many viewers suspected. This was not planned, not scripted, and absolutely not something the producers anticipated. Sources inside the studio described the mood as shell-shocked. Meryl Streep, we're told, left the building quietly, thanking crew members on her way out. No outbursts, no dramatics, just dignity, exactly as she'd carried herself on camera. Joy, on the other hand, reportedly stayed seated long after filming ended. Several staff members described her as stunned, replaying the exchange over and over in her head. For someone who built a career on being quick, sharp, and unshakable, being publicly outmatched, without insult, without yelling, was devastating. By that evening, opinion pieces began to appear. Joy Behar mistook cruelty for candor, when provocation backfires on live TV. Meryl Streep didn't raise her voice, and that's why she won. Even longtime fans of The View admitted something had shifted. This felt different. Joy wasn't challenging power, she was attacking a guest and got exposed for it. Others noted how the rest of the panel went silent, unwilling or unable to defend what happened. The following day, anticipation was sky high. Would Joy address it? Would the show apologize? Would the network step in? When The View aired again, Joy opened the show with a noticeably subdued tone. Yesterday's conversation became heated, and while strong opinions are part of this table, things may have crossed the line. But for many viewers, it was too little, too late, because what lingered wasn't the argument, it was the contrast. One woman yelling, one woman calm, one attacking, one dismantling every claim with precision. And that contrast told the entire story. In the end, no shouting match, no comeback, and no damage control could undo what millions had already seen. A moment where a host known for control lost it, and a guest known for grace never did. And that's why this confrontation didn't just trend for a day. It became a reference point, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful response isn't volume, outrage,